Hello, everybody. Hope you're all doing fantastically well. Please get your comments in the section below. It's a little bit different from me today. It is going to be a little bit tinny on the mic, so apologies for that. I am home for the holidays, as Gabe would put it. And I just wanted to speak on Leeds. I wanted to speak on Preston coming up tomorrow, and I wanted to get your thoughts in the comment section below as well. Please let me know before you start, everybody, and before I start. Please head on over to the Patreon. If you fancy a little bit of bonus content, we're flying over there. We've got a real good community. The player ratings were out there the other day. We had a podcast out there the day before that. So it's well worth it. £4.16 a month, I think it is, and it all goes to the running of the One Leeds Fan Channel. So if you do enjoy, that would be lovely. Please make sure that you do that. So I'm here with the three things. I'm here discussing. Cheers, Jody. Appreciate that, mate. It's made my booming voice. But we're here discussing Leeds United's game yesterday against Ipswich Town. I'm still buzzing about it. I'm still elated about it. I still can't believe it, to be honest with you, what we did to them. I've just seen the XG. I don't know if anybody else has seen that, but I think it's 1.92 to Ipswich's 0.12, which essentially means Leeds absolutely battered them. And it was fantastic to see, fantastic to watch. I was in complete shock to how Leeds went about that game. I mean, complete shock to say, the top two now just haven't beaten Leeds, and we've scored a fair few goals in the process as well. 9 goals past the top two now. Clean sheet against Leicester at the King Power as well. And when you look at it, it really is. If we can keep this up, if we can get this right, we can beat Preston on Boxing Day. We can beat West Bromwich Albion in the next game coming up. You've got Ipswich, who in a month have got Leicester. Not once, but twice. So I'm looking at that and thinking, I like that. And it's not only, obviously, the Norwich game and the Leeds game that they've played. The Leicester back-to-back is going to be tough. It's going to be very, very tough. And when they come up against Southampton again, which I believe they're coming up against them soon, it could be within the next couple of months as well. That's a different Southampton, who I believe haven't lost in 15 games. And are another team that Leeds do need to keep an eye on, because they're on the same points as we are, and they're looking exceptionally good at this moment in time, Southampton. So, fascinated to see how this one's going to pan out. Southampton are probably at the same level as us at the minute. But what we did yesterday was put out a real statement. I just want to read out a couple of your comments. So make sure you like as well, everybody. Really appreciate that. Morning, Connor. Merry Xmas, and thanks for all the content. Cheers, Danny. He's back. The positive twin was here yesterday. What do you mean? What are you on about, Stephen? Do you listen to what I say? Morning, Connor. It was good waking up to a win like yesterday. No, you're right, mate. Andy says Merry Christmas. Great all yesterday. Sounds fine. That's good, mate. Morning, Connor. What a win. Yesterday means nothing unless we win against PNE and WBA, all the abbreviations there from Sam H. Morning, Connor. Merry Christmas to you and your nearest and dearest. Keep working hard, and the successes will surely follow. I've loved your channel since the early days. Thank you so much, Sujal. I really appreciate that. Good morning, Noel. Merry Christmas, says Evie. Hi, Evie. Dave Rogers. Morning, Noel. Great to catch the cracking game yesterday. Nice to see it. I was on it for 90 minutes. Hi, Phil. Merry Christmas to you too, mate. Yep, and everyone's in the chat. Hi, MW. Hello. Morning, Connor. What a display that was, mate. Put them to the sword. I still need to be convinced that Farker can get them to beat a team like Preston, who will park the bus and stifle the midfield. Morning, Connor. What a win yesterday. Cheers, Lucas. Thanks, mate. Yeah, and we'll get into that. There's going to be more good things, mate, coming to the channel as well. I'm really putting my effort in. But yeah, on the way to 30k, and maybe even 40,000. Is it up there? There we go, 40,000 at some point. Okay, let's get into it. So the three things that we learned yesterday. We're so much better than Ipswich, and we're a top two side. It really... I was watching the game yesterday, and obviously being there live is completely different, and I've always said this, but being there live, you do get a completely different way of looking at the game. You really do, and that there's no a way around that, and that's why I do like to go down there. I'm not going to be one of these YouTubers who just never goes to Ellen Road. It's not going to happen, especially when I'm putting more and more time into this. I would rather go down to Ellen Road and produce some things for you guys instead of just sitting in my room and watching it. I think you need to get a vibe, get a feel for what goes on down at the ground, and obviously be amongst Leeds fans. I think that's massive. And a lot of you guys can't do that, so I'm going to try do that as much as possible and bring sort of the Ellen Road vibe to YouTube. But when you're down at the game and you're watching the players live and you're watching the technical ability of them, you're watching just like sharp interchanges, maybe things that you don't see on the TV, players moving in different ways where the camera on the the camera of the TV wouldn't follow the players on the opposite side of the pitch. It's so interesting to watch. Archie Gray's consistent movement, which you don't see, in moving with the defence consistently. When Leeds are moving over to one side of the pitch, then to the other side of the pitch, is consistent movement which the camera doesn't pick up. When, let's say, Joe Rodon has the ball, Archie's consistently trying to make angles for him. All these things that you don't see on the TV, because obviously the TV is just focusing on the ball. I think you just saw the next level of what Leeds were when we're at our pomp. And I think, I've mentioned this before, that when Leeds are on their day, no one can compete with us in that division. I do believe Leicester are up there as well. I think Southampton on their day was against us when they beat us 3-1. That's probably their performance of the season. The Southampton fans will probably, attest to that. But I think us on our day are the best team in the division. But the problem is it's getting us on our day. The problem is it's doing that consistently. It's doing that over a 46-game period. And quite right with what Sam's just said. This needs to be Preston North End. It needs to be West Bromwich Albion, because they were up for it yesterday. And I don't know what it is, but you could tell they were up for it. They were up for it a lot more than they were, let's say, in the Sunderland, and I won't say Sunderland, but the Coventry game and the Rotherham game as two examples where I thought we were a little bit complacent. And a lot of people will say, Connie, you can't really say that. It's not really, if you got any, you can't back that up with numbers, but you can just tell. You can tell with the intensity of how Leeds start the game was completely different. And how Leeds were able to just hammer it down consistently. It was attack after attack after attack after attack. It was breakdown, high press, recovery. They couldn't deal with us. And if we were to perform at that level, week in, week out, teams just could not deal with us. And I know that's not realistic. I know it's not realistic, because Tuesday, Saturday, Wednesday, Sunday, whatever it may be, it's difficult for the players to not feel the fatigue. And I think we've seen that. But when they're up for it, which they have been up for it in a lot of the big games this season, take out Southampton, they are just, it's too difficult. It's too difficult for teams to compete with us. McKenna's coming out last night, bitching and moaning, blaming the fact that we've got 5 billion spent on the squad, and Strout made a foul in the build up to the first goal. What he didn't mention was for the first goal, Ampadu was literally being wrestled to the floor by, I believe it was Luongo. That just completely went past McKenna's head. He knows yesterday he'll have gone into the change room afterwards and gone, we don't repeat that again. So we can come out and make all the excuses. What he wants, the drive up there, or the fact that it was cold, the fact that Leeds have spent X amount on the squad. And I kept hearing Ipswich fans saying that. But then before the game, they were talking about how they're going to take Leeds apart and players off the pitch. It's funny, just these ready-made excuses for when teams lose by certain fan bases and managers. But Leeds were exponentially better. And if we can play at that level against Preston, against West Bromwich Albion, they will not be able to cope with us. The difference is going to be how they will set up against us. Now, a lot of people, and this is something else that I learned yesterday when we were looking at it, a lot of people were saying to me, Connor, Preston North End are going to sit in against us. West Bromwich Albion are going to sit in against us. I personally don't think those two teams will. I think they're going to come at us. Preston need a win. They are losing at this moment in time. And West Bromwich Albion with Corberan, they'll set up a little bit more pragmatically, but I do think they'll come, especially when Leeds are playing at their ground, to beat them. I think stylistically these two teams, based on form and based on what Corberan may do, will help Leeds. But Ipswich were sitting in. Everyone around me was surprised. Ipswich sat in yesterday. Now, was that for their, did that contribute to their downfall? Potentially. But there's no way in that first for me, 25, 30 minutes, they were just, embellishing, hitting Leeds on these transitional moments, building up from the back and attack. They weren't. A lot of the time, they were just sitting back into a little bit of a mid-block again, and Leeds just broke them down. What they didn't do, obviously, is just sit 11 men behind the ball, but I didn't think they were coming at us. I thought Ipswich were going to really come at us, and it was going to be a game of yin and yang, and it was for a period of time, but they didn't like it. They didn't like that yin and yang game, because the yin and yang game will go in our favour. You can try it, you can be as good as you want, doesn't mean you're going to win. Not against Leeds United. It won't happen in this division. They tried that at Portman Road, and we knocked 4 past them. If you come yin and yang with us, you're going to get popped off the pitch. And I genuinely believe in that game yesterday, they sat back for a lot of it, and I was really surprised. So this is what I'm trying to say. It's, for me, a lot of it is the level that Leeds can play at. We know we can play at this next level. We know that the passing is crisper. It's more incisive. It's more effective. It's varied. There was varied passing yesterday, everybody. Number 2, there was varied passing. Varied passing. Sometimes switches between Pascal Struijk, who I thought progressively was excellent. Ilan Meslier, unbelievable, and we'll get onto him in a little bit. But Ilan Meslier was actually bypassing whatever Ipswich had. He was going long more. Leeds were passing it through the thirds quicker. And when they pass it through the thirds quicker, it takes the opposition longer to recuperate, get back into the framework, get back into the structure. So it was working. And that's what happens when Leeds are incisive, when they're moving the ball quicker, when they're varying their passing. Teams can't deal with this because not only have you got the ability, but now you're involving pragmatism. You're involving different tactical plans. You're involving ingenuity with your play. You're not being predictably predictable. And that's what Leeds have been over the last month. There was variance in our play. Damar says, we actually switched the ball. Damar, I know, mate. Honestly, I was at the game and I think people thought I was mental because at the game, shout out Joe, anytime we switch the ball, I'd go, wow, we switched the ball. And you just get people going, is he all right? Is he all right? But it's the little things that excite me, It's not all about the goals. It's not all about the assists and the wins. Us actually switching the ball gets me going, everybody. Really does get me going. Fan taste, Connor, the varied passing is partly thanks to you. You've been saying this for weeks. We're becoming too predictable. Good job, Connor. Mate, do you think Daniel Farker watches my videos? No, but I think, mate, even just being a football head, of which I would say I am, I love the game. I love the game. I watch too much football, and I love this channel, and I love watching Leeds and trying to break them down. Listen, I'm not going to come on here all the time and talk about stats, analytics, this, that, and the other. Sometimes I'll do it to back up my point, but, what I will do is I think the eye test, and when you've played the game at a decent level, when you've played the game, just some things you can spot a little bit, and it just feels like it's just been obvious with Leeds for weeks. So it was really nice to see us varying the play. I saw Ampadu doing it a couple of times as well, that little switch, and it doesn't have to be in the air, but it's literally getting the ball, and instead of going Ampadu, Kamara, who'd be on that left hand side, Spence, it'd be Ampadu fizzing the ball to Spence. Doesn't need to be over anything, but fizzing the ball in. Quick, incisive, Spence, one touch, move. And Leeds could do it. Leeds have got the ability. So if we're being that incisive and quick and effective, and they can't deal with us against Ipswich, why aren't we doing that against Coventry? Why aren't we doing that against Rotherham? Because you're moving them. You're moving into space, and you're moving them out of their structural framework, which would be the mid-block. So anyway, another thing which I think aids Leeds, and another thing that I learned yesterday was Meslier. So, I was watching something on Edison not long ago when I obviously, you guys know that for my job I worked for the Man City side of the Manchester Evening News. So I was watching something on Edison, and I'm not at one instance comparing Ilan Meslier to Edison, but what Edison does with the ball is when he plays it out from the back. In Leeds' division, the division that we're in now, we're dominant in possession. So focus for a goalkeeper is absolutely paramount. Now, when you're playing out from the back, which is what Farker instructs Leeds United to do, as a right back and as a left back, you want the ball in front of you. So when that ball's played in front of you from the goalkeeper, when you're building out from the back, you move on to the ball. Your body's open, you've got an open space to run into, you don't have to check back and then move the ball onto your right foot to move forward, if you get what I'm saying. Your body's already open, the ball's played in front of you, you can run onto it. Ball's not played behind you, you have to check back, move it, and then go. That takes up time. That means that you can be pressed on. Now, that is what I've noticed with Illan Meslier in many games this season. His distribution is absolutely tripe. It's really, really bad because all he'll do is pass between, Rodon and Strauch. That'll be it. But when he gets the ball to Strauch and Rodon, what the stats don't tell you is where he passes the ball. A lot of the time, and I noticed this especially being in the ground yesterday, he passes the ball to the wrong foot of the defender. So the defender, all the time, he might get to the defender, but the defender has to manipulate his body position, which takes 1 or 2 seconds, and then the press is engaged by the opposition. So you might be able to, I hear constantly by other content creators, oh, Illan Meslier, look at his pass distribution level, he's passing here, he's passing it, so it's effective, it's 99, 100%. But where's he passing it? Is that offering complications for Rodon and Strauch and Gray and Spence? It is. And you see it when you see it live. He does it consistently. His passing might be effective getting to the man, but where he puts the pass is shocking. It's really, really bad. And you're watching it live, and people in and around me are also commenting on it, and it's mental when you watch it. That is a side of his game that if we get that right, if we get his side of that, style right, if we're passing out from the back and he's doing that effectively in terms of playing the ball in front of the man so the man can run onto it, Leeds are going to be even quicker because a lot of our play starts from Illan Meslier and we build that from the back through Illan Meslier. So he's got to be better. Yesterday I thought he was poor. And that's backed up by that for me. It's constant balls, and then his pass distribution in the first half, he's booting the ball to Dan James and it's going 2-3 yards over his head out for a throw-in. His only confident balls at the minute is to Rodon and to Strauch, 5-yard passes. But the problem is they're not effective. They're not doing Rodon and they're not doing Strauch any justice. You guys might think that's me being a bit pedantic, but it's really, really imperative and important when you're building out from the back to get that pass selection right. And he's not doing it. And so if we're able to do that, and it's just one little thing that maybe we don't all focus on, but if we did focus on it, and maybe if the goalkeeping staff, I don't know if they're doing it behind the scenes, but if they're actually doing that and he's not able to cope, I mean, I don't think he should be with us in the Premier League anyway. You guys know that. I don't think he's good enough. But if they're able to just increase that by 5%, it's going to get Leeds, when we start from the goalkeeper, off much quicker. How is it possible that we are 7 points behind a team that we battered twice and we should have scored 12 goals against? His distribution, Mikey, was terrible yesterday. Always passed it behind. It's really interesting that you guys are saying the exact same thing. This is, and I'm watching it and I'm thinking, Connor, are you just picking up on this? Are you getting this wrong? But it's so fascinating that Louis, all of you guys, Josh C, are saying the exact same thing. I'm telling you, Edison's brilliant at it, and that's why Walker loves him, because he passes it in front of Walker from the back. Meslier, Joe Rodon has to adjust his position every single time to receive the ball from Illan Meslier. He slows Leeds up massively. So we talk about incisiveness, effectiveness, blah, 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 blah. That's the problem with him. He doesn't get his passing range right whatsoever, and it's a massive problem when you're a team who builds out from the back. So it's not me being negative, it's just another thing that I learned from being down at Ellen Road yesterday and actually looking at his pass selection live, in the flesh. It's terrible. It's not good whatsoever. Let's have a look at what you guys are saying. Why do we never lump it central? He kicks it out of play too often. What would be the downside? If he lumps it central, Jody, just talking tactically, if you've got Perot and Rutter, who Perot's 6'1", Rutter's 6'1", at least he looks it anyway. He's a big lad, and if they're 6'1", what's the worst that's going to happen if you hit it centrally? He's going to compete with the centre back or the defensive midfield or whatever. The centre back might win it, but then the ball's going to bounce or the ball's going to go up in the air. Then it's all about Leeds United winning that second ball. You win that second ball and you've got Leeds 50 yards up the pitch. It's all about the second balls. For me, it doesn't really matter. It does in a sense, but it doesn't really matter how small you are when you're up against the defender. If you win the second balls, it's irrelevant. It's completely irrelevant because you've got your team up the pitch anyway. And that's what I'm talking about with Elan Melia. I'd love to see some variance in how he passes it, but there's got to be more effective balls out for him. Very strong headboard, Daryl. We've got 2 in, mate. Got 1 in the other room as well. Headboard makes everything, mate. Morning and Merry Christmas. Hi, Tashin. Morning, Connor. Says Steve, right, I'm going to enjoy my Christmas thanks to the boys yesterday. Melly's passes are as bad as his reading of the crosses. Yeah, Mikey reckons he picks the right pass, but he doesn't execute it at all. Yeah, I agree. And I just think, guys, if we're able to get that better, then we'll see a much quicker Leeds. But a couple of other bonus things that I wanted to talk about was Joel Perreault, and a lot of people are going to be interested to see what the title of this video sort of illustrates, and I am going to get onto that. But I thought he was better yesterday. Scored really, really a nice goal, but I just saw something from a certain someone who came onto the pitch, and I thought, I'd like that a little bit more. And it was Perreault, one of Perreault's best games, so it's difficult for me. But I think this guy absolutely kills them. I think he absolutely kills Preston in terms of his transitional moments. So, yeah, we're going to get onto that in just a little bit. But I thought Perreault was a lot better. I thought Rutter was fantastic. Ampadu and Kamara's best game in a long time. Just ran it. Absolutely ran it. Morsey and Luongo were barely on the pitch. Michael Isle says, morning, Connor, agreeing with what you're saying, mate. I doubt you're going to agree with what I'm going to say next, mate. But yeah, listen, you come on here for a bit, my opinions, and I don't really hold back with them, to be honest with you. But yeah, I do think in this game, this is going to be a worthwhile look at things. So let's get into it. Okay, so this is what I'm thinking going into the game against Preston North End tomorrow. So I'm really interested to see what you guys think on this. Do you agree? Do you disagree? This would be how I go about it. I'd keep the same back line. I thought Spence was excellent again. Really, really good yesterday. His recovery was superb. I'd love to see him at right back. I mean, he's running down that left-hand side, trying to cross the ball, and then he can't do it. And Byram couldn't do it, and Berardi couldn't do it. Because when you're running at pace, and then you're having to cross with your left foot, it's very different to standing and crossing with your left foot. Running and crossing with your right foot as a right-footed player is difficult enough to get the right trajectory on the ball, to get your foot underneath the ball when you're running at pace, to get the right whip on the ball. That's why people pay so much money for fullbacks and wingers. But when you're on the left-hand side and you're not a left footer and you're running at pace, and the pace that Spence runs at, you're looking at him yesterday, he's keeping up with Somerville. He's overlapping and he's always hitting the first man. He's always hitting the first man because he's not left-footed. So I'd love to see him at some point. I can't wait to see him at some point on that right-hand side. But I would go with Spence at left-back. Gray I thought was really good yesterday, but he's not a right-back. He's just not a right-back, and it kills me every single time to see him there. I think when he goes in central midfield, oh my God, if we can make a midfield 3 at some points to be a bit pragmatic, that'd be immense. But Gray was really good yesterday, and that dirty git Broadhead should have been sent off. Rodon and Strout, their best game together for a long time. I thought they were really good, composed. Rodon is the blocker, isn't he? But Strout's so important to what Leeds do. His proactiveness in passing out from the back is just imperative. Ampadu and Kamara in the middle. And then, yeah, I'm dropping Perreault. I know it's, I a lot of people can see what I'm saying, but I'm dropping Perreault for this one. I'm putting Nonso in there. Somerville, it was excellent. James, who was excellent again, and Rutter, who was the best player on the pitch yesterday. But I just feel Nonso, what I saw from him when he came on was him just in that 10, dotting, connecting the passes. And I didn't expect him to go in the 10. I thought maybe Somerville would go into the 10 and Nonso would go out wide. Came into the 10, and I thought, I like that a lot. Bit of a test, see him in the 10, but I thought he was excellent when he came on. And listen, I know Leeds weren't at it at that point, and we were just getting on with the game, but he was receiving the ball off the centre-backs. He was receiving the ball off the wide players. He was receiving the ball really, really nicely from the forward players as well. He was connecting the dots, and I just thought to myself, for the first time ever, you've actually seen a little bit of a number 10 role there. You've actually seen, a player of ours connecting the midfield and the attack, connecting the defence and the attack. I just thought that was a really, really nice way of playing. And a lot of people are saying James over Nonso going in. for James, but I do think that Preston are going to try win this game. I don't think they're going to be sat back. I know it's all these things that you can't measure, but it's Boxing Day, it's a home game. They're not winning many games at the minute. They need to get back on the horse. I think their best method tomorrow is coming at Leeds. It's a home game. I think if it was at Ellen Road, I'd be a little bit like, oh God, it's going to be 11 behind the ball there, but I do think they're going to come at us tomorrow. So I think Dan James in and behind, pinning their fullbacks back, as we saw yesterday, fullback back, as I suggested yesterday, is going to be the way that we hurt them. And I think I'd keep him in for this one. I think Perot might be a bit. We've just not consistently seen Perot be at a very decent level, especially in that number 10. I know he's scored, but I think Perot off the bench should be a good option as well. But I'd just love to see Nonto in that 10, having more minutes than what he had yesterday. Obviously, he came on that 65th minute, but I thought he was really good. So, yes, another live. Can you keep going, Ellen Road, mate? Rad music chat. Yep. Shout out to Joe Stokes, who got me there yesterday. I can, mate, if I'm happy to pay money to obviously to go down to Ellen Road. Don't need to be a freebie or anything like that. But it's just availability, mate. Whenever I can get down, I'll get down as much as I can. No, mate. Gil, not the same team, because I put Nonto in there, mate. Pro was excellent yesterday, so I can't see Farker dropping him. Hasn't dropped him before when he's been poor. Yeah, it's just opinion based, Les. It's just opinion. But I just think Willie in that role when he came on was excellent, and when Perot plays, he's a forward, isn't he? When Rutter plays, he's a forward, and we almost leave that number 10. And that's why I think the midfield gets outnumbered a lot, because no one acts as a midfielder. But I just thought when Nonto came on, he was just connecting the dots, and he was really good, really, really good. And I was really surprised at him in that 10. So I'd like to see him from the start. Preston will low block. They're not brave enough to take the game to us. They will see how we destroyed Ipswich, and will to keep the score down and catch us on the counter attack. The last thing we need is getting complacent or taking the spot in the starting 11. Nonto needs to start for us very soon. It's been ridiculous the lack of game time Willie has, and that's it. With Dan at the minute, I'm a little bit like what you guys are. I'm sort of a bit here and there with him, but I do look at him yesterday and I think he's just terrifying on that counter attack. But I think Nonto is terrifying as well in so many respects. And his technical ability is better than Yoel Perot's. He's a better footballer than Yoel Perot. And yeah, don't get me wrong, he scored yesterday. Thought he was good. But once again, out of that front four, he is still the weakest there. And I just feel Nonto being put in there. He's on the same level as them all. Same trajectory. We saw that again earlier on in the season when he was there with Sinistera and Rutter. And I just think overall in that 10, as a front four, he worked really well when he came on. We struggled against Preston in the promotion season when they tried to catch us and they put a left back on. Jingle bells all the way, says Alex. Did anyone see Farker having a long chat with Pervada? I'd like to see Joseph given a chance. The only benefit I can see from changing the starting lineup is to keep every player on his toes. I would love to see Nonto start. I mean, it's all a good option, isn't it? Gavin says Nonto will replace James, not Perot. Be fascinating to see. It will be. But guys, listen, we're going to leave it there. I know it's Christmas, so a lot of you have probably got some Christmas shopping to do, but I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you've enjoyed a little bit of the stuff here. We've had three things and a little bit of a Preston preview. We'll have some more content out for you tomorrow when the game's... Oh, is it tomorrow? It's Boxing Day, isn't it, when the game's done? But I really appreciate all your support. Honestly, Merry Christmas to you all. There'll be loads of stuff coming in the new year. As I say, join the Patreon if you fancy a bit of extra content. Please make sure you subscribe. And as Alex says, please like the content. And as I say, I'll try to get to more Leeds games and maybe film in a few more bits when I get down there as well. But yeah, guys, thank you so much for your support over the past couple of months. As you guys know, I'm really trying to make a go of this channel. So any support really, really helps, even if it is just a like, and that's all you can contribute. That's really appreciated by me. Have a lovely Christmas. Enjoy it with your family and friends. Keep happy, healthy, and well. And hopefully Leeds United can be in that top 2 sooner than you think. Everyone, it's been an absolute pleasure from me, and I will see you in a bit. Cheers. Have a lovely Christmas. Christmas. Enjoy it with your family.